Welcome to Stand Up and Redo with Petra Demuse, the podcast where transformation isn't just possible, it's inevitable. If you've ever felt stuck, weighed down by past choices, or like life's chapters have been written in ink, think again. Here, we believe every day is a fresh page, and you hold the pen. We're diving deep into real stories, bold insights, and life-shifting strategies to help you stand up, shake off the old, and rewrite your narrative with power and purpose. Ready to rise? Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to Stand Up and Redo. This is an honest podcast from me, Petra Demuse, about trying something new. And this episode is going to be focused on you trying something new. Have you ever been in a situation where you're ready to travel somewhere amazing? You haven't been there, you're super excited. You might have even gotten your plane ticket 3 months before to get that really great rate. And then the person that you're going to go with just completely backs out. They're like, nope, can't do it. Not going to be there. Things came up, can't travel with you. Meanwhile, you've done all this stuff and you're itching to go, but you have never traveled alone. And you realize that if you're going to do this trip, you're going to be solo. So you back out and you just wait. And your whole time has changed. You have to either redo your vacation, or you have to find someone else to go with, or just everything is just kaput. Well, I want to challenge you to travel alone. And if you're afraid of it, I want to challenge you to not be afraid of it. It's just something foreign to you, foreign meaning you have never done it. Once you do it, once you get a taste of it, you are going to fall in love with it. So if you're like a world traveler who's gone all over Europe, Africa, Asia, everywhere by yourself, and you have no fear of travel, it might be something that you could listen to and share with others as well, who you want to encourage to travel and to try something new. So I have to tell you, I was over 41 years old when I went on my first solo vacation. I did plan to meet my brother. My brother was 13 years younger. He was a professional waiter in the summertime in Cape May, and he was venturing to follow the tourists to the ski slopes in the winter when the Jersey Shore was pretty much like crickets, dead. There was no business in Jersey Shore in the wintertime, hardly at all. So he had decided to follow the tourists and waiter then in Salt Lake City, Utah, where everyone was skiing and there's a vibrant tourist life there. And I was ecstatic. I was 41 years old. My children were all older, so I was able to travel alone. And I got a ticket like 4 or 5 months before I was even going to go. I had asked for off from work, and I was going to spend a week with my brother skiing out in Park City, Utah, and Salt Lake City. So I thought, okay, I'm going to get an amazing room. And I did. I really researched where to stay, what was a great price, what was a good resort room. And I had like 3 or 4 nights in Salt Lake City and 3 or 4 nights in Park City, Utah. And I was going to stay in one of those really awesome, sexy resorts where you could float around in the hot pool, and then you could watch other people ski while you're floating around in your hot pool having drinks. And I knew I was going to stay there at Park City. And then I knew in Salt Lake City, I just wanted something like more like quaint and special, not just your typical hotel. So I had taken a lot of time researching that. And he was actually going to stay with me. He was my brother. So he was living with a couple other guys. And for me, I was thinking that I would get like 2 double beds, and my little brother and I would kind of like hang out, ski, go out on the nightlife, and have a really good time. I was really excited about it. Well, like probably a month before I was going to go, he calls me and he's like, Pet, because my whole family, my name is Petra, but they all call me Pet. He's like, Pet, I'm going back home to Jersey. He's like, I'm not going to be here. So I don't know what you want to do, but I'm not going to be able to spend that week with you that we planned in February in Park City and Salt Lake City. So I was like, what am I going to do now? And I had never even gone to a restaurant by myself. I had never really planned any trip solo by myself. And I just said to him, well, I'm going to go anyway. I'm going to go. I'm going to ski. I'm going to go out to dinner. I'm going to do all those touristy things that people do in Salt Lake City and Park City, Utah. And I am going. So that's what I did. I was able to get my girlfriend who lived down in South Carolina, North Carolina area, and she is a chiropractor still. And she was willing to meet me there for 3 days because she's an avid skier. So when I first got there, that first weekend, she was with me for day 2, 3, and 4, I believe. But she only did a little short, quick weekend trip because she had to work. You know, she was self-employed, and the two of us had a blast. I mean, we had a blast. And we actually had quite an experience because they closed the mountain that we were driving up to go to the highest ski resort, and there was an avalanche. And I had to turn this little tiny rental car around on this little narrow road with like no berm that just was like a drop off with all ice and no chains on the tires. And then when we got to the bottom of the hill later that day, they said that they had a sign there that said you couldn't go up the hill without chains, and that they were actually closing the hill. So we couldn't even get to the top ski resort because they had actually closed it. So we had to go to one that was like on the middle of the mountain, which was still really 9,000 feet high. I mean, it was still amazing. So it was really fun. But neither here nor there. Tina was only there for 3 days. And I remember I made a reservation for one person at a restaurant in Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City is a gem, a food mecca. So I had a reservation for one at a restaurant, and I was nervous. I felt so nervous to go to dinner alone. Tina had left and I was going to be solo at a restaurant. That experience is one that if you have never done it, and even if you don't travel on a plane alone or take a cruise alone or fly to another country or take a train or drive anywhere alone, that dinner experience of eating alone and getting a table for one is amazing. I mean, amazing. Like, I love when I'm home alone to cook a meal, and then I love to plate it. I'll even put like 2 little pieces of oregano on the side of my plate. I like make the sauce all pretty, even if I'm eating by myself, and I savor every bite of the food that I cooked. Well, here I was going to be eating at restaurants, eating like real food from chefs who cooked it and prepared it, and enjoying every bite of it. And in a restaurant alone, when you sit down at the table, all your senses are heightened, like beyond what they could be if you're with another person. Your sense of sight, you just observe the artwork in the restaurant. You see all the visual colors. You notice the waiters and the waitresses. You even notice some of the other people sitting in the restaurant, and you hear things. You hear things more. You hear the music in the back. You might hear the clattering of the plates. You might hear other people's conversations that are just fascinating sometimes to be the eavesdropper when they're not even paying attention to you, are so interesting. And then the food, when you get your food, every course you taste, you savor, you visualize it, you even look at it more. You just enjoy it so much. Eating alone is amazing. And I'm saying that because traveling alone is amazing too. I think when you travel alone, believe it or not, I actually feel, I don't want to say safer. That's not the right word. I feel like when I travel with another person, sometimes when you're with another person, you really rely on the other person to do double checks, to read signage, to look at things. But when you're alone, everything is kind of smooth and easy. You recheck your baggage ticket with ease and grace. You look at the signage with ease and grace. You pay attention to things. You talk to people. You ask questions with ease and grace because you don't have another person there distracting you. You're not in deep conversation or talking about something totally off the wall that's unrelated to travel, and you pass by a sign or you miss something that you would see if you're alone. I feel like actually when you're alone, you're just more in tune to what your surroundings. You just are not distracted by anyone. So in my way, when I travel in an airport or on a train or even getting a bus or an Uber, my senses are heightened. I'm paying way more attention, and I don't feel afraid. I felt really nervous that first trip to Utah alone. I remember then going to the really nice resort in Park City, and I remember going down to the pool alone and floating around. I remember going to the bar alone and sitting and having a drink by myself and just feeling nervous, uncomfortable with it a little bit at first. But trust me, it's not much more than the first time when you do that. Because if you do it the first time, you just find that it is so pleasurable that you don't mind doing it a second time. And then traveling alone just becomes something that you might even crave. So the Utah trip was kind of funny. I will tell you some things that I will talk about safety for a woman and alone and a man, because I talked about this before in a podcast. But one thing to really be considerate of is not staying out past midnight. I know it sounds crazy. And my grandma always said anything that you do after midnight is dangerous and no good. You're up to no good if you're out after midnight. And I'm going to say that because I'm going to tell you a story about Utah. When I was in Utah, I went to Park City, and my little brother connected me with one of his buddies, and his buddy's girlfriend was there. at dinner. So I met the two of them at a bar and we sat and we had some really good drinks. And then we actually sat down and we had a really nice meal. Well, he was a ski instructor and he had to go back. He was tired and he said, I need to get back because I have to get up really early in the morning for work. And his girlfriend, who was significantly younger than him, and I don't even know if they were a couple, but they were there together that evening. And she said, hey, Petra, would you like to go out with me and just like kind of bar hop? Park City is so fun at night. And oh my gosh, I was so excited. I had gone because I'm kind of a country bumpkin girl. I was a mother with 3 kids, working as a nurse who just wore scrubs. All I wore at home was scrubs and workout clothes, literally. So when I was in Park City, Utah, I had purposely gone to some secondhand stores and got some really expensive, like super nice, like high-end designer sweaters. And I made sure I had really like chic, expensive shoes on. I remember thinking, I'm going to Park City, Utah. It's where people who can spend a lot of money are going as well. And I want to look the part, even though I was on a strict budget, trust me. But I had so much fun going out. We did some hopping from bar to bar in Park City. And it was mostly, I was like 42. So I actually felt like one of the older people going out because it was a lot of college men. There were very few women, even. I guess college men or college boys or whatever you want to call them ski a lot more than women because I literally felt like when I walked into any bar that her and I were like maybe one of 5 other women, and I was the old one at 42. They were all young, like in their 20s, which didn't bother me at all. It actually made me feel like I could just let loose and be crazy wild and have fun. And the girl that I was with was wild. I mean, wild. She was attracting a lot of different men. She was very pretty. For me, it made me have a lot. Of course, I had a lot of fun because I'm kind of quiet and reserved. And one guy from the band was jumping down and dancing with me on the floor. And I was like, yeah, this is great. Well, I was talking to her when we got to this third bar, and she ended up knowing the band there. And as she's like proceeding to really be extremely flirtatious with one of the guys, she tells me that she plans on when the band stops playing, she's going to go to Salt Lake City and continue to party on and then go have breakfast somewhere, which I have no idea where. And I was invited to come with them. And I'm like, okay, I'm 41. I'm married, first off. I can't close the bar and go home with the band or go party with the band. So I'm thinking, oh gosh, what do I do? And it was late. It was like, I think 2 a.m. at that point, and I should have left before midnight, right? Yes, I should have left before midnight. I'm going to give you a little tip when you're traveling alone. Go to your room before midnight. And I said it in another podcast that I talk about. I say it clear when I talk about riding home with a creepy Uber driver in one of my other podcasts. Go home before midnight. Because what happened to me is I said to her, it was getting close to like 1 or 2 when she tells me this is how she plans to get home. And I didn't have a car there. I guess I took a taxi in and I was going to take a taxi home. Or I think I might have had the little rental car there and realized I drank too much and realized I was going to have to take a taxi to the hotel and then get back into Park City, the main strip, the next day and get the little rental car that I parked. Either way, I knew I wasn't going to be driving myself home because I had a couple too many drinks to drink. And I will not drive if I have more than 1 drink out in the evening. So I went outside at like 2 and I got through to a taxi. I was excited. I had this taxi's like card. I had asked the hotel about ways to get travel and I had gotten different taxi numbers. I had multiple cards in my wallet of different taxi services to use. That's another thing. When you go to the hotel, ask these questions wherever you go. Ask, what are the most dangerous roads that I need to stay away from? What is it dangerous? And most people will be nervous to tell you if it's dangerous or not, walking around town after 10 o'clock or at night home from a restaurant. But some of them will say, no, this is a really safe street. There's lots of other people walking around, even when the restaurant closes at 10, if you eat dinner late, because I like to eat dinner late at night. I like to eat dinner at like 8 or 9. And then I come back to the room usually after 10. So asking the hotel person all those questions, asking them for nowadays, you can use an Uber, but some places, if it's real snowy and it's a small town, they don't have Ubers. So even asking a question like, can you get an Uber at midnight or can I get an Uber at 11? And also, what are the most dangerous streets to go on and where should I stay away from? What areas in the evening should I avoid? But again, be home before midnight. And I am the pot calling the kettle black because I actually twice in my alone travels have stayed out past midnight. But now my stand up and redo is that if I'm traveling alone, I'm back at that room before midnight. So this was like maybe 1:30, 2 in the morning, and I was calling the taxi and I was relieved. They answered the service and they said, yes, we will send a taxi to pick you up. So I was like, okay. And they're like, it'll be there in like 15 minutes. So, I'm walking around saying my goodbyes and I say goodbye to her wherever I could find her. Cause at this point she was like done. I mean, she was like, I don't even know if she knew I was still there. I don't even know if she knew I came with her that night. All I know is she was partying and I was out of there. So I basically went out onto the cold, snowy Park City street, and it was very quiet in Park City. When I went into that bar, Park City was kind of bustling and there was like a lot going on and it felt a little bit vibrant. Well, when I went out at 1:30 in the morning, Park City was like sleeping. It was quiet. It was very quiet. And I was waiting for my taxi and waiting for my taxi and waiting for my taxi. I freaked out. I called whatever happened. That taxi wasn't coming. I ended up calling another service. Again, going out, waiting for the taxi, freaking out, panicking. It's getting close to 2:30 in the morning and the band is slowing down. And the one band guy I could tell had, I don't know, how would I say, a heart for me? Like he had a heart for me. No, he had the hots probably for me. And he was really flirtatious with me and he was very sweet and he was younger. And he said again, he said, listen, we can give you a ride home, ride back to your room. And I said, are you sure? Because I kept coming in and realizing that the taxi was not going to come get me. And it was almost scary to just stand out on the street forever by myself. And I noticed that every single person at the bar was leaving and the bar was very, very empty. Went from extremely busy, shoulder to shoulder dancing to nobody there. And he proceeded to made me feel a little bit safer than her because she was totally drunk and he seemed like he was really with it. Well, they were loading up all of their equipment into the back of like a pickup truck, and the pickup truck was very small. So all 5 band members and me and this girl, I don't remember her name. She was very sweet. She was very fun and she was a real party wild animal. The 2 of us climbed in the back of the pickup and lapped it with this band. And they kept saying, come on, Petra, come with us to Salt Lake City. Come on, we're going to have so much fun. We're going to go party at this place. I don't even know where it was. It might have been somebody's house. And then we're all going to go out to breakfast. Basically, they were going to stay up all night. And I'm like, well, let me put it this way. I have a husband. So first, I need to get back to my room. And second, no, I'm not staying up all night and going away from my rental car, my hotel, all the way to Salt Lake City from Park City, which isn't really that close. It's pretty far away. I actually feel like it's more than, I don't know how far away it is, but it was far enough away that it would be a hike to get to Salt Lake City from Park City. So I was very fortunate that band took me back to my room. But what if things went awry? So I'm encouraging you to travel alone. And I'm telling you that my whole entire trip alone was phenomenal. Dinner alone. Then I actually the next day had my little iPad and I was looking for places nearby to go and I found a hot spring. And I went to a hot spring by myself, which was also amazing. I got to the hot spring and there was like a whole family there with little kids and everybody was like splashing around and you could see the mist coming off of this really like salty, thick water that was just so soothing. And they all left. And I think I floated around in that hot spring for like an hour by myself. It was heavenly. I mean, it was heavenly. So I also went for a hike by myself. I took the little rental car and I found like a little park, maybe a state park, or it was a beautiful park near like a lake. And I hiked at the park. I was going to go to Bryce Canyon or drive somewhere, but that was like a little bit of a drive. And I knew that I would have to get up early and take this little tiny rental car with no chains to go to the canyon. So I decided just to stay in Salt Lake and Park City. I did so many things by myself during that trip that were totally enjoyable. I never felt lonely. I did feel a little bit, not even afraid when I was at the bar late after midnight. I felt stupid more than afraid. I felt like, Petra, you're too intelligent to be in this situation. So as I'm telling you about traveling on your own, I'm going to interweave some safety tips into this podcast. So that was my USA travel from Pennsylvania to Salt Lake City and Park City, Utah. And I did it by myself, did all the flights and stuff. Was able to get, if you do travel at all and you're not savvy with traveling, if you get your plane ticket really early, like I got my plane ticket months in advance, and it was only like $300 round trip. But then as I looked at the plane tickets like a few weeks before, because that's when my friend ended up getting her plane ticket, they were like $600 round trip. So the plane tickets tend to double in price as you get closer to the date. So if you can plan your travel out like 3 to 6 months ahead and you can get like a really good plane ticket, you'll save, I mean, hundreds of dollars and actually thousands of dollars if you get your plane ticket really early, especially now, because I notice this and this climate, this time of life, this particular year, plane travel is very expensive. As a matter of fact, I was traveling home from somewhere and I ended up, it was a Friday evening flight and I was going to fly home and it was like 6 or 7 at night and I was still going to have to drive an hour and a half from the airport and I was really tired. And they're like, we'll give you $300 if you will not fly out tonight and fly out in the morning. I was like, wow, that's pretty good. A couple minutes later, we'll give you $600 if you'll save your flight for tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock or whatever. They were going to fly out again, same flight in the morning. I'm like, wow, $600, that's great. I'm like, but just listening because I was going to go home Friday night. Then they said, we'll give you $900 and a free room and a meal voucher if you will give your ticket up, which means that the other person that was probably going to fly in that spot was going to be paying buco bucks for that seat. But guess what I did? I walked up and said, I'll take that $900 and that free room and that meal voucher. And I used that $900 to go Christmas shopping this year. And I was like, yes. So plane travel is very expensive right now. So if you can get a flight like months ahead, smart move. I just got a flight to Morocco round trip in a few months, and it's going to be, I think it was like they were going between $800 and $1,200 round trip to Morocco from the US. And I was like, ooh, I am so curious to see what that Morocco flight will be by the time I go. I'm really curious. Same thing with everywhere I've been looking. We went to Slovenia with a bunch of my friends and we were able to lock in with a cheap flight just when all the flights were going up. I mean, we got the last flights. I feel like they went up like $300 or $400 even the next couple of days when we locked in on our flights and we were talking about it. We're like, we need to lock in now on these flights because they really will go up hundreds of dollars if you don't lock in at a good rate right when you see. And if you know you're going there, you know you're going to go to that place and you see a flight and you notice that they went up a day from yesterday, lock it in because it's going to go up. That's my tip to you on traveling. I am going to filter some travel tips in to this podcast. But I need to tell you about my European travel. I was dating this guy and we were he was a big traveler. He liked to drive when he traveled and I liked to fly. And I had taken 2 weeks off. And I sometimes at that time was working in California. So I knew I had to work in California for a week. And after that work week of being there for one whole week, I was going to start my 2-week vacation. So I decided in my heart with him, we decided together that we were going to do a trip where we would drive for 2 weeks, kind of take our time, driving from California back to the East Coast. And I was so excited about this trip. I was like, yes. And we had been dating for 12 or 14 months. So we were very comfortable with each other. We had traveled some far distances before. Oh, this is really bad. We were going to do that. In August, we were supposed to drive across country and we had it all planned. He was even going to bring my dog with him to California where we were going to meet up and with my dog and him drive that 2 weeks cross country, which I still want to do that. I have not done that yet. And that is my fantasy to take 2 weeks off and just drive across country. And I would love to do it. I don't even care. I used to think I wanted to do it in some kind of a van that I could sleep in, but now I just think it would be cool to do it. I like to be high up. I mean, sports cars are amazing and stuff, but I want to be high up. I would love to do it just in my own Ford F-150 Raptor because I'm high up and I can see, and I know the gas mileage would be wicked, but maybe it would be fun to have something you could sleep in. I could sleep in my Raptor if I was alone, but maybe it would be fun to have like a van, but I almost think it would be more fun to just jump from little like Airbnb or little inns and little towns or even hotels and cute, quaint, like towns along the way. I think that would be kind of fun. Maybe freaky fun Airbnbs that are unique, like maybe sleep in like an Airbnb treehouse or do weird stuff, like just travel across the US, book your sleeping places that are like not just your regular old Hiltons or Marriotts, but some cool, like maybe stay at a farmette or stay at a coastal cottage or stay in a treehouse. So I need to find that crazy person that's going to do that with me. And hence why I'm single, because I can't find people like that anywhere. But either way, I was going to do that with this guy, and I needed to we needed to end our relationship in July, literally like 3 weeks before our vacation was planned. And I was a little bit ticked at him for anyway, it doesn't matter. We broke up and I needed to figure out what to do with that 2 weeks off. And I was not going to, I don't want to say lower myself. I was so mad at the breakup that I thought there's no way I'm going to cancel this vacation, because it was like I was due for a vacation, and there's no way I'm not going to do something really amazing. So I was like, I'm going to go to Europe. I have never gone to Europe. I've been out of the country to like the Virgin Islands and Mexico, but I had never done any European travel really by myself. Like I said, the furthest outside of our country, I hadn't even gone to Canada at that point. The only place I ever had gone was the Virgin Islands and Mexico, which, does that really count as any kind of really like crazy travel? I don't think so. They're like tourist places. Well, I knew I didn't want to just like go to Europe by myself, which I know that so many people travel to Europe, and I've heard it's really easy to do travel through Europe. But for me, I had never gone anywhere. So I just immediately started looking online for trips to do. And I found this trip to Ireland. And it was like one of those trips that only 10 people could go on. And it was Love Ireland tour group, I loved Ireland tour group. And they were going to drive all through Southern Ireland for like 8 or 9 days. And it was going to be from little, like, from one side to the other, not in the northern area, just all through the southern area, which I learned a lot between Southern and Northern Ireland. I learned that if you're Catholic and you live in Southern Ireland, you only drink Jameson. You do not drink anything but Jameson. And I learned that if you live in the northern part of Ireland, you drink Bushmill. And I learned that most of the Catholics, of course, are in the southern part of Ireland and Protestants are in the northern part of Ireland. But I also learned that if you go out with an Irish man for a whiskey drink at night to like a really cool tavern, and he says, "What do you want to drink?" And you say, "Oh, I haven't tried this whiskey yet. Let me try that one. I haven't tried that one yet. It's one I've never seen before." And there's like a couple whiskeys up there. He'll go, "No, no, 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 no." I looked at him and I said, "Well, then why did you ask me what I wanted to drink?" And I had Jameson neat. And I also learned that evening that the difference between neat and straight up is neat is just poured warm out of the bottle. And straight up is when you shake it over ice or you chill it over ice, but you're drinking it straight up and chilled over ice. And I also learned that if you're with an Irish man in Southern Ireland, that you only drink Jameson neat when you go out with him. You do not drink any other whiskey. And that was just fine with me because it was really delicious. And it was really about just hanging out at the Irish pub with this really nice Irish man for 2 drinks. And it was very innocent and very sweet. And it was a very nice evening. But that whole week, I was the solo girl. And there was another solo young woman too, who was at a life-changing point in her life. She had a young child and she had I forget what her story was, but we both had these like stories where we just needed to get away by ourselves. But every other person on the little Mercedes bus that we were driving around through Ireland, or Mercedes van, was coupled up. And they were all a lot from Canada. There was a couple from Florida, all couples, and very interesting, diverse careers, different professional jobs. A lot of them were very professional. All of them were professional, which was nice because I just love hearing diverse about just careers that I've never heard about and just the things that other people do. I mean, just learning about other people, and that there's even some of these jobs that I had no idea even existed when you travel. And that's another thing that's neat for me with work travel. I meet people that have the most amazing jobs. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was a job. But the point is I was a solo person traveling through Ireland. And the one thing I can tell you for a tip, I got there to Dublin at like 5 a.m. I'm not even kidding. It was before 6 a.m. I got into Dublin and it was the city was asleep. And I know everyone acts like, oh, Dublin's overrated. Well, I feel like Dublin is underrated. I had the most beautiful day in Dublin. I got to the hotel with my big old suitcase and I left it at the front desk. And I proceeded to, before the sun, as the sun was coming up, maybe walk around Dublin when it was just so quiet and so peaceful. And I got to see the city come alive. And there is just Trinity University. And then there's just so much in Dublin to see. And I just took every tourist attraction in that city. And the city is not even that big. And I walked everywhere. I think I walked 8 miles that day, if not more, just before I got to the hotel at 3 and checked in. So I came back to the hotel at 3. So you figure from 6 a.m. to 3, I ended up walking through Dublin. And I had a raincoat on and it was neat. It rained off and on, as they say it does in Ireland. And Ireland for me that week was very much like that. It rained all the time. And I was prepared. I will tell you, when you solo travel or when you travel with another person, wherever you're going to go, watch YouTube videos. I watched YouTube videos all week about how to dress in Ireland. And I knew good old sturdy raincoat, shoes that were waterproof and comfortable. And next time I'll get some more. I had like these Gore-Tex running sneakers and I was wearing them with literally like squirts all week. I mean, I looked like quite the sight, but it didn't matter. I still had a blast. And I did have some dress shoes that I wore here and there, but anyway, the irony of it was I ended up going past a Teeling whiskey distillery, not dispensary. And as I was passing it, I didn't even know what I was passing. It started to pour rain. I mean, like pour rain, like so heavy that I needed to take shelter. So I ran into the Teeling's whiskey distillery, and they had like a 2 or 3 hour tour that you could take. And it was really not that expensive. I think it was $20 to $40. But I paid for the tour because I thought, well, you know what? I have to wait till it stops raining. I don't have anything to do. I might as well just pay for this tour. And it was so funny because I'm on this tour and I'm sitting at this like table. We're doing whiskey tasting in this room and we're all sitting there with our little glasses. And I started talking to this group of like 4 or 6 people, and I was the only one that was not in their group sitting at the table. And we're all having a conversation. And I'm like, so where are you all from? And I'm from Cape May, New Jersey originally. And I thought it was just hysterical because like, we're from Stone Harbor, New Jersey. And I'm like, what? I said, I grew up like, I don't know, 6 miles from your town because it's just like a couple shore towns away. And I just thought that was really funny that here I am in Ireland at a Teeling whiskey tasting with a family from pretty much my neighborhood almost. And we thought that was hysterical. But that whole trip was amazing. And I have to tell you another funny thing about being alone. Everyone in that tour bus really made me feel comfortable. There was a couple like that, if they saw that I was alone, they're like, Petra, do you want to have lunch with us? We're going to go shopping here, but then we're going to go over to that little restaurant and have lunch, when we were in like a little town. And they just all made me feel really welcome and really good. And they look after you when you're alone. I do feel like people in general are good. And I can tell you that everywhere I go, I do run into some that are a little bit creepy and scary, and you're always going to do that. But for the most part, people are really good. Doesn't mean that you act naive though. But I have to tell you a funny part of this story. I had broken up with that guy, and I was really, even though I'm laughing and acting like this trip was amazing, it was a nice distraction. I was really heartbroken. I literally sat on the Mercedes bus and I had a journal like this thick. I think I wrote every day in that journal just to try to release the heartbreak that I had from this breakup. And breaking up is really hard to do. Hence why I don't really like to date now, because the breaking up is just hard. That song, Breaking Up, is hard to do. I just don't have the energy to do it anymore. I don't have the energy to fall in love right now and break up. But at that point, I had broken up with this guy, and I made this joke when we got on the bus. I said, I need to get as many pictures with as many hot Irish guys as I can while I'm here and put it on social media, because I want to like show off that I'm having a good time to this guy who obviously broke up with me. We broke up for another person, which is fine. But they were laughing and they go, Petra, there aren't any hot Irish guys. I'm like, what? She's like, did you ever hear of a hot Irish guy? I'm like, what? I'm like, well, Gerard Butler, but no, he's Scottish. He's not even Irish. I'm like, okay, well, what hot Irish guy is there? Okay, there's definitely hot Irish guys. But either way, they just made the whole entire thing about me trying to get pictures with a guy a joke. I got a picture with a men's soccer team, the whole soccer team. They were like in their 20s. They were in college, obviously. And the one guy looks at me and I told him, I said, look, I'm getting a picture with your whole team because some guy just broke my heart and I need a picture with a bunch of hot guys. And they made me feel so special. They're like, come here. And they all wrapped around me. And the one guy's like, do you want me to kiss you? I'm like, no. And then I got a picture with a guy in a kilt who was pretty hot. And then I got a picture with some other hot tourist standing by a river. I mean, it was just hysterical. I was getting all these pictures with just hot guys on the whole trip. And the whole little 9 bus, there were 9 of us on the Mercedes bus, were all helping me to get pictures with guys. But the one story, I have to tell you the story because this is going to crack you up. This is hysterical. We were walking to the Blarney Stone and we were going to go up into the big castle. The Blarney Stone's, if anybody knows anything about the Blarney Stone, it's not like a stone on the ground that's big and you walk over and you kiss it. No. You have to climb to the top of the castle, get to the top of the castle, get in the line, and then you have to contort your body backwards in a flip to kiss this Blarney Stone. And then when you're contorted backwards to kiss the Blarney Stone, you can look down and see the earth way, way below you. And there's some guy like bracing your legs. And it truly does feel like you could fall, even though I know you can't fall. But we're walking to the castle and we're kind of like in this line shuffling through a crowd. And there's 3 very attractive men. I mean, very attractive. They were young. They were in their 30s. They had like black skinny jeans on, black like hot dress shoes, and they all had black button-up shirts on. And they all were dressed so similar that obviously they had made an effort to wear these black skinny jeans, black shoes, and black button-up shirts. I'm like, wow, they just look really good. So I'm like talking to them and just asking them lots of questions. And then finally I go, you guys look really handsome. And then I said, why are you all dressed alike? And the one guy goes, well, we're priests in training. Well, I could hear the couple behind me just starting to giggle. And then later on, we're in the line at the Blarney Stone, all the way at the top of the castle. And the one guy goes, Petra, come here. The one guy from my Mercedes bus, Petra, look over there. And we look down and in the grass, way, way down in like this little like grassy field that was all manicured, the 3 priests are sitting in a circle, like leaning over praying. And they're like, there's your hot guys. They're all praying. And they're like, what did you think when they said they were priests in training? And I'm like, well, they weren't priests yet. And it was just so funny. And later, this is how much people were talking about this whole priest in training. And Petra was trying to pick up priests in training. Later, I was at a gift shop like a day later and I ran into this woman and we were talking and she goes, oh yeah, I'm in the other tour group. We've kind of been colliding with each other with this other tour group. And it was a big tour group and we were a little tour group. And she's like, I said, oh yeah, my name's Petra. And we were having a conversation with each other. And she goes, oh, you're that girl. I'm like, almost 50 years old. She's like, you're that woman who was trying to pick up the priest. So this trip was hysterical. So I was traveling alone and I was very much loved and embraced by this tour group. I can tell you, traveling alone gives you a lot of freedom to, really just, you have you pay a little extra for your tour, but you have like a private room. You have all this ability to choose what you want to do completely. Like if there's 2 or 3 options, you can choose what you want to do. You don't have to be like, what does that person want to do? Oh, what's it going to do? You do it yourself. You're like, I want to do that. And you just go do it. You can wake up and take like a 3-mile walk real early in the morning. You don't have to worry about getting back in time to have breakfast with another person. You can stay late and talk to a stranger at a bar somewhere and just enjoy their company, not trying to pick them up, just enjoying their company. That whole trip was, oh my gosh, it was really fun. But I just want to encourage you to stand up and redo. And I want to tell you about this other little tip. I have, of course, a passport and I have my driver's license and then I have some cash. And think about this. I wanted to have that with me. I don't carry a big old purse around. I purposely don't carry a purse. So for me to give you a travel tip about packing light, that's what I'm going to tell you. Pack light. And I'm going to show you something. My friend Mernez is very well traveled and her husband travel all the time. And she gave me a money belt for that Ireland trip. That money belt saved me. It was just real stretchy, zippery. I could put my passport and my driver's license in it. So I'm getting ready to go to Morocco. And I got this from Amazon. It's called an Alpha Keeper. And this money belt right here has a clip on the side. But not only does it have a clip, it's really stretchy. And this money belt is going to hold my passport, my little tiny wallet, my driver's license, my cash, and I'm even going to put a little comb in there and probably maybe some lipstick if it doesn't look too obvious. I might put the lipstick or chapstick in my pocket. Maybe a couple little Tylenol. I'm going to free to be everything that I would need for when I'm traveling through Morocco. And I can keep it under my clothing. And sorry if it's blurry right now, because right now my thing looks really blurry. I think because I'm moving around a lot. Let's let it adjust. Is it getting adjusted? I don't know. Here I am, just looks blurry still. Either way, I want to suggest the money belt. And I can tell you this was the best thing that I took with me, because I am not about to leave my passport anywhere in a room or anywhere in Morocco or anywhere. I just had something in my little hometown of Cape May stolen right out of my truck. I left my truck unlocked when I ran into somebody's house, and I had a little tiny charger that I use everywhere that I absolutely love in my truck. And someone opened the door and took it out. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I can't believe it. It kind of broke my heart a little bit. So you never know, wherever you are, that things can be stolen from you, and you cannot leave stuff in the room. I'm telling you, do not leave your passport in the room. Do not leave your driver's license in the room, and do not leave a large amount of cash in the room. Take it with you, but hide it, conceal it. Even if I have to put this up on my boobs, I'm going to put it up on my boobs. It's going to be underneath my clothes, and it's going to be concealed. And this one is the Alpha Keeper. I'll tag the Amazon thing at the bottom of this when I publish this, but this was something that was so exciting for me to share with you. And my stand up and redo is that now I want to go on more European travel. I want to go to Italy with someone though, but if I can't find a person to go to Italy with me within 2 years, I'll probably figure out how to go to Italy by myself, because I'm not going to wait to have that perfect person to travel with. I would love to have a person to travel with. Love to have that person. I do have friends that travel. I have a girlfriend that's going to Morocco with me. I've gone on an amazing trip a couple years ago to Slovenia with some bike rider friends. And I know that there's people that I can travel with. But I'm not going to hold off on traveling just because I have to go alone. I will go alone, and I will enjoy it. And I challenge you to go alone, to travel alone, whether small, close, far, or near. Travel alone. And I've done the Blue Ridge Parkway twice completely alone. And I can tell you, when I'm depressed, one of my favorite memories is going back in my memory bank and remembering driving on that Blue Ridge Parkway by myself. It was just the first time I did have my dog Inky with me, so I wasn't completely alone. But the second time I didn't have her and I was alone. And I can tell you, that drive on the Blue Ridge Parkway was one of my best memories ever in life. And I was alone. So I challenge you to stand up and redo and try traveling alone. And as time goes on, you will hear podcasts from me about safety and being alone. And I wish I kind of filtered a little more into this, but for now, I'd like to give credit to Sarah Gephardt for the cover page of this podcast. Experience going to dinner alone. It's amazing. And my stand up and redo is that I know I will make that trip to Italy by myself if I have to, without any reservation. Well, with a reservation, but without hesitation. And that's my stand up and redo. Thank you. This podcast is a work based on the personal experiences, reflections, and memories of the speaker. The events described are true to the best of the speaker's knowledge and recollection. Some names, locations, identifying characteristics, and timelines have been changed or altered to protect the privacy of the individuals involved. In some cases, composite characters have been created or dialogue has been reconstructed based on memory. The intention of this podcast is not to defame, malign, or harm any individual or entity. Rather, it is to share the speaker's journey with honesty, vulnerability, and integrity. Any opinions expressed are solely those of the speaker and are not intended as statements of fact regarding any person, group, or organization. Listeners should keep in mind that human memory is inherently subjective and selective, and while every effort has been made to ensure accuracy, this podcast reflects the speaker's perspective and truth. Thank you.